Welcome back. This is week 6 of betting, and we are still rolling. Last week, I went 10 for 14 on my bets, and my real biggest win was the Phillies over the Dodgers. But in my opinion, the biggest win was Detroit over Seattle. I put faith in my team, and they showed up. Tarek Scuba made it happen. Their offense finally showed up. I put faith in Detroit, and they showed up for me. It was amazing. Fun game to watch. I ended up making $20.9K in profit because they were the plus 109 underdog too. I felt very accomplished in that bet. My biggest loss was the Cubs defeating the Twins. The Twins were a negative 147% favorite and ended up losing that game. But overall, I made a profit of 46.2K, and the magic number is now 461.3K. I believe I started at around 280K. So, I've almost made 200K in virtual money by now, which is pretty exciting. I told my mom about how I started at 280K and made it all the way up to 461K. Told her about the whole system. And you know what she told me? She said, she said two things. The first thing she said is it's beginner's luck. And to that I said, we're on week 6. We're on week 6, and I've almost made 200K off of 10K bets. How long does beginner's luck last? A year? No. Week 6, I'm here. I'm making money. The second thing she said is gambling addiction is a real thing, and gambling addiction is a real thing. Coincidentally, on my Instagram reels, I've been seeing reels like, it says something like, real men know that gambling isn't a real investment. And I do know that. Does that make me a real man? That's up to you to decide. I don't know. Gambling addiction is a real thing. If you need help, they're on every ad in DraftKings or whatever you see on TV. But yeah, as of right now, I don't need help with my virtual money. Almost 200K in profit, and we're keeping it rolling. This week, I'm betting on UFC 305, Duplessis versus Adesanya. Let's get started with the early prelims. First, I'm taking Stuart Nicole over Jesus Aguilar. I'm not sure if it's Jesus or Jesus. I'm assuming Jesus. The fight stats were difficult to find for Nicole, but he is 8-0 and on a 4-fight TKO streak. He is rolling. On the other side, Jesus Aguilar is 2-1 in the UFC and has a lack of pressure, only landing 1.49 significant strikes per minute and a 1.9 takedown average. So my assumption is that Stuart Nicole will win the fight with his pressure. I'm not sure if he'll get another TKO, but his pressure and aggression should get him the win in that one. Next up, Song Kenan over Ricky Glenn. Expect a stand and bag in this one. Neither of these fighters really like to take it to the ground. And neither of these fighters are hot. Stats in the last 5, Song Kenan, he's 2-3 in his last 5. If you just look at the KOs and TKOs, he's 1-2. He's won 1 by TKO, lost 2 by TKO. When it goes to decision, he is 500, 1-1. Now, Ricky Glenn, on the other hand, in his last 5 is 1-3-1. He has won once by TKO, been TKO'd twice, and when it goes to decision, he is 0-1-1. Glenn has lost his last 2 fights by TKO and hasn't won a fight since 2021. I'd love to see that change for him, but I don't see it happening. I'm taking Song Kenan. Next, Tom Nolan over Alex Reyes. If you look at their UFC records, both of them are pretty new to the UFC, only 2 fights. Tom Nolan is 1-1, both ended by TKO in round 1. Alex Reyes is 0-2, both ended by TKO in round 1. Expect a short fight here. Tom Nolan lands 9.26 significant strikes per minute. That's insane pressure. That's insane. And you could argue it came in majority from his TKO win, but still, with a 9.2, 6. That's insane pressure. And he lands with a 58% strike accuracy. I'm taking Tom Nolan to win this one. Another thing, if you look at Tom Nolan's fight style, he wrote down ninja. How could you not take that? Next, give me Jack Jenkins over Herbert Burns. Jack Jenkins lands nearly 3 more significant strikes per minute on his feet and has a higher striking percentage, or land percentage. He lands 62.87% of his shots compared to Herbert Burns' 52.25. So neither of these guys are inefficient with their strikes. Just Jack Jenkins is much more efficient. Herbert Burns is a jiu-jitsu specialist. However, he averages only almost a half a takedown more a fight. So as far as the ground game, there's not a huge advantage there that I see for Herbert Burns to win this fight on the ground. Jenkins also has a higher takedown percentage. Jenkins lands takedowns almost at 70%, at 69.23%. Meanwhile, Herbert Burns only lands 42.86% of his takedowns. If you look at their last 3 fights as well, Jack Jenkins is 2-1 with 1 loss by TKO. Burns is 0-3 with 3 losses by TKO. I'm taking Jack Jenkins in this one. Next up, give me Luana Santos over Casey O'Neill. Luana Santos recently taught Nina Drama how to dance and a couple judo moves. And if she uses her judo and her wrestling in this one, she will be dancing out of that octagon with a win. If you look at the fight on the feet as well, it's closer than you'd think. Casey O'Neill probably does have the edge. She lands 8.41 significant strikes per minute, which is insane. But if you look at her last couple fights, that you haven't seen that productivity. 8.41 seems like a very high number compared to her last 5 fights. Now on the other side, Santos lands 5.33 significant strikes per minute, which is still great pressure. So both of these ladies are going to go at it. It should be an exciting fight. Strike accuracy is even as well. So Casey O'Neill probably does have the edge on the feet. The real difference is the ground game. Casey lost her last fight by submission and didn't defend takedowns or body strikes. Her defense below the chin was awful. It was awful. That is how Santos can win this fight, with her ground game and with the body strikes, just opening it. If she doesn't land the takedowns, at least opening the strikes above the chin or at the chin. Next, this is a underdog pick here. According to ESPN. I'm taking Ricardo Ramos over Josh Calabao. Both fighters are on a 2-fight loss streak, so this fight could mean a lot for them. Expect them to come out and look sharp, wanting to win and wanting to sign another contract. Ramos lost his last 2 by submission, but Josh's ground game is seemingly non-existent. He has a takedown average of 0, a takedown accuracy of 0, and only attempts 0.33 submissions a fight. So if Ramos wrestles efficiently, he will easily steal at least 1 round in this one. And on the fight, on the feet, this fight is very even. Both land around 3.2 significant strikes per minute. The wrestling will be the deciding factor in this one. If Ramos can steal just 1 round from his wrestling, he averages 3.02 takedowns a fight, and he has a 60% takedown accuracy. If he can just steal 1 round with the takedown, that could make the difference in this one. Give me Ricardo Ramos to win it with his wrestling. Next, Walter Walker I'm taking him to beat Junior Tafa. Walker has a 6-inch reach advantage as well as a 15-pound weight advantage on Tafa. Walker has a slight edge on his feet. That's looking statistically at their striking statistics and at the 6-inch reach advantage. The 6-inch reach advantage, that's nothing small to overcome. Walker also has an extreme advantage on the ground. Put the 15-pound weight advantage aside, he averages 4 takedowns a fight. He has a takedown accuracy of 80% on top of that. He only has one fight in the UFC, so those numbers could very well be inflated. However, he had 7 minutes of control time in his last fight. In a 15-minute fight, spending about half of it on top of your opponent, it's shocking that he lost that fight. Give me Walter Walker to win this one with his wrestling in this fight. Next, Yi Jingliang over Carlos Patres. Carlos is on a 3-fight KO streak, but Lee has never been TKO'd. He has had 27 MMA fights. He has never been finished by TKO. On top of that, Carlos takes a lot of damage. In his 3 fights that he won by TKO, he was taking strikes left and right everywhere. The chin, the body, and especially the legs. He was not defending very well at all. Lee has a very slight edge on the feet. Very slight. That can be exposed even more with Lee's threat of wrestling. Lee is not known as a great wrestler, but that if he threatens that will open up more shots to the face. If he lowers the hands with his shots, that will open up attacks above the body. This bet could turn around with one punch. Carlos has taken a lot of damage in his past 3 fights, but he always finds a way to win by TKO. It's phenomenal. With one big punch, Carlos could win this one, but I think Li Jingliang will stop his streak here. Next, give me Jairzinho Rozenstruik over Tai Tuivasa. Neither fighter is hot, but Tai is ice cold. In his last 5, he is 1-4. All 4 losses are by finish, 2 by TKO, and 2 by submission. There is no worry for submission in this fight. This fight will definitely be a standing bag. These are 2 fighters who like to keep it standing and fight on their feet. It should be close, but it could end at any punch. The striking statistics are very close, but with Tai Tuivasa with being TKO'd twice, Jairzinho only needs to land one big punch, and it could be over. Give me Jairzinho Rozenstruik to beat Tai Tuivasa. Next, this one was a tough bet for me to make. I could see this one going either way, but give me Mateusz Gamrot to beat Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker has the advantage on the feet. He has less accuracy but lands 2 more significant strikes per minute. His pressure has been very good throughout his career. He is a legit fighter. However, Gamrot is just as legit, if not more. He is also more well-rounded, I would say. He is a very good grappler and wrestler. He averages 4.2 takedowns a fight, which is insane. That's phenomenal. If he uses his wrestling, if he flips the script, if he comes out and puts pressure on Dan Hooker, makes Dan uncomfortable, that he will win the fight. If he threatens takedowns and grappling and then just keeps the pressure and with punches, leg kicks, anything, mixing in takedowns, if Gamrot gets to pressure and makes Dan uncomfortable, he will win this fight. Dan has phenomenal takedown defense. He has shown great takedown defense. And with that being said, if Gamrot at least threatens the takedown, it will still open up shots. And if Gamrot gets one takedown, That's all he needs to boost his confidence. If he gets one takedown, he will keep firing, and he will keep getting them. He'll know what opening to shoot at, and he'll go for it. You'd think that if Dan Hooker defends the takedowns, that he will win this one, and that's a very real threat. However, Gamrot is 24-2, and he finds a way to win. That's the bottom line. Give me Gamrot to win this one. It should be a very close and very exciting fight. Next was another very tough bet. Really, the last three were the toughest bets to make. And I really hope Kai Kara-France proves me wrong, but I'm taking Steve Eckrig to beat him. Kai Kara-France is the better striker. The stats striking are much closer than you'd think. Steve Eckrig is legit, and you need to give him respect on his feet. But Kai Kara-France is a striking specialist without a doubt. His obvious weakness, however, is wrestling. Eckrig isn't a wrestler, but he can wrestle efficiently, and just that well-rounded aspect of fighting that could make the difference in this, with him threatening takedowns and that opening up his striking, as well as the judge seeing that Eckrig could take the fight wherever he wants. That could make a difference on the scorecard. Give me Steve Eckrig over Kai Kara-France. And now, for the main event of the evening. It is a very highly anticipated fight between Israel Adesanya and Dricus du Plessis. There's been a ton of drama in the middleweight weight class in the UFC. This fight is very personal. Israel Adesanya looking to regain his title that he lost to Sean Strickland earlier. Du Plessis looking to prove that he is the champion. A lot of people didn't think that he won against Sean Strickland. The judges did. He's the champion, and beating Israel Adesanya would be quite the statement. Another thing is these fighters, they are at each other, and to them this fight decides who the best fighter, the best African fighter is. They're taking this very personal. Expect a very exciting fight, at least a very efficient and calculated fight, even if it goes the distance. I predict this will go the distance, and this affects my bet very much, just predicting that this fight will not end by finish. I'm taking Dricus du Plessis over Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya is a more efficient striker. He is one of the best to ever do it. I believe he will undoubtedly be in the UFC Hall of Fame at some point. He is a phenomenal striker. But you cannot sleep on Dricus du Plessis on his feet. He actually lands more significant strikes per minute. He lands 6.49 significant strikes per minute to Izzy's 3.93, which 3.93 is still great, but that's a lot more pressure, landing 6.49 strikes per minute. And pressure could make the difference in this one. If du Plessis is controlling the center of the octagon, throwing more punches and being more aggressive, the judges can see that and put the cards in his favor. Now, Izzy has shown phenomenal shot defense, but another thing that could change the judge's mind is Dricus du Plessis' wrestling. He averages 3 takedowns a fight, and he could steal a round just by getting 1 takedown. I could see that happening. And if he steals 1 round with a takedown and then goes 2-2, like wins 2 and loses 2 rounds on his feet to Izzy, he will win this fight. The wrestling can affect the striking, not only by making Izzy aware of his wrestling prowess and lowering his hands, opening up strikes for Dricus to the face, but it will also affect the scorecards. If the judges see that du Plessis can take this fight where he wants it, if du Plessis can put pressure on Izzy, make him back up, control the center of the octagon, and control where the fight goes, that will give him a huge edge on the scorecards, and Izzy will need big shots to get an advantage in this fight. I predict a very close fight. I could see it going 3-2. It could really go any way, but I'm predicting du Plessis wins it just because of his more well-rounded fighting. Those are the bets for week 6. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope these bets keep hitting. Thanks for watching.